Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. As Russia conducts large-scale nuclear exercises with Belarus, including the transfer of nuclear munitions to field storage sites and training for Iskander and missile systems, European leaders are reassessing both deterrence and diplomacy. At the same time, EU capitals are debating whether to appoint a senior envoy to engage Moscow, while German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has separately proposed an associated membership model for Ukraine to deepen its ties with the EU without granting full voting rights. We'll discuss all the latest now with Chris York, news editor, Kyiv Independent. Good to have you with us. Welcome.
Hi there.
So let's start with the latest, these exercises in Belarus, this transfer of nuclear munitions. Is this some exercise that we could have seen coming, or is there more signaling here from Moscow that it's right here in Belarus?
Well, joint military exercises between Russia and Belarus, they're regularly common. They have them every year. Obviously, what's different about this one is with the inclusion, reported inclusion of nuclear weapons within that. Now, I think we need to see this more as posturing from Russia than any sort of immediate direct threat. There's a few other things that Russia has done recently which are sort of in line with this as well. We saw the testing of the Satan II nuclear-capable intercontinental ballistic missile last week or the week before. And there was also, lesser reported, the Russian Duma passed a law effectively legalizing Russian invasions of other countries to protect Russian minorities within those countries. And I think when you sort of take a step back and put all of those things together, it does look like a country that is now pretty much struggling in Ukraine, is not making many gains on the battlefield. The Victory Day parade, which is traditionally Russia's annual display of military might, was a total flop. We didn't even have a single tank there. It lasted 45 minutes. No dignitaries of note there. So I think this is all basically Russia trying to make up for inadequacies in multiple other areas and trying to convince the world that it's still relevant and a threat, essentially.
Right, but if we look at the reality as well, if we look at the Baltic states in recent days, we've seen a lot of activity there. We've seen certain drone sightings. I mean, on Wednesday, we saw those air alerts in Vilnius shutting down the city completely. We know that there has been some Russian jamming as well from Kaliningrad. But looking at the deterrence right now at the Baltics, where do you see this go? I mean, are you concerned here? Is there something still missing? What can we do there?
I mean, something certainly needs to be done because this isn't going to stop the drone war going in both directions. Russia's drone attacks on Ukraine and especially Ukraine's drone attacks on Russia, they're only escalating. And, Ukraine's are causing some real damage now. And the only way that Russia can really retaliate at the moment is with more of its combined missile and drone attacks on Ukrainian cities. So yeah, we're almost certainly going to see more incidents like this. Just why these stray drones are flying into Baltic airspace is sort of still up for debate. Ukraine claims that Russia is doing it deliberately with GPS jamming. But what I find interesting here, one of your columnists wrote a good piece on it that's on your website right now, and saying that it's Russia trying to put pressure on the Baltic states. But Russia has been doing that for years now with this hybrid warfare. There's been GPS jamming around the Baltic Sea and from Kaliningrad for years now. Cyber attacks, that whole long list of sort of what we call grey zone activities, which Russia conducts against the West. And now I think these drones need to be seen within that context. They are they're just a very visible side of a much bigger campaign which Russia has been waging now on the Baltic states and the West for years.
Mm-hmm. That's from the battlefield. Let's go in a different terrain now into diplomacy. There's some interesting developments. This is floated by apparently sources which the FT broke just, I think, yesterday, about potentially Europe appointing a diplomatic, a special envoy to actually go and revive and really be a bridge for talks between Russia and the EU. Now, two names have been floated as Mario Draghi, former head of the ECB, as well as former Chancellor Merkel of Germany. So what do you make of that? I mean, how would Ukraine view either of these appointments if that were to be the case?
I think Ukraine would welcome that wholeheartedly, because at the moment we just have Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner heading off to Moscow, having private conversations with Putin. No one really knows what they're saying, but every time that Witkoff comes back, he's just spouting glowing praise for Putin, and then the US, inevitably ends up effectively taking Russia's side in negotiations. And, like Steve Witkoff does not understand Russia, and he is far too easily swayed by whatever rubbish he's been told by the Russians. The EU member states have a lot more experience in diplomacy and in dealing with Russia, and a much more realistic view of it. So to have them at the table as in this envoy role would definitely be welcomed by Ukraine. But again, it's hard to get excited about anything on the diplomatic front when there is absolutely no sign that Russia has any interest in stopping the war or concluding any sort of peace agreement which would be reasonable in the slightest for Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at the same time, we're seeing some pictures there of Angela Merkel, a former German chancellor, receiving an award there at the European Parliament. I mean, this is also a slightly divisive figure. I mean, Putin himself proposed Gerhard Schröder, also a German chancellor, former German chancellor, someone very close actually to Russia. That was sort of completely ruled out by Europeans. But do you sense that this will be palpable for Russia? Is this the kind of, let's say, maybe not a solution, but maybe one of those things where we could get closer to some kind of talks of a ceasefire if the Europeans send someone like that?
I mean, I'm pretty cynical at this stage. We've been having these peace negotiations for, the entire time of Trump's presidency, and Russia is very, very good at playing its role in what is essentially a theatrical performance. Nothing substantive has come from any of them. I think if the EU envoy was to become a thing, Russia would just continue to be very good at playing its part in largely theatre, and very little would actually change on the battlefield and on the ground.
Mm-hmm. And also, speaking of the European Union, this is something that Ukraine would like to be a part of. I mean, these negotiations, accession process, that's a long time coming, with some progress in clusters coming probably in June, but nevertheless, still a long road. Now, I want to get your sense of what the German Chancellor for the Humanities, the Kremlin, has proposed that's making the rounds of a letter to high-level European leaders, the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, about an associated membership idea for Ukraine. So they'd be part of it, but not quite. They wouldn't have voting rights. They'd be sitting in the Council. How do you think that the appetite for that is in Ukraine? Would Ukraine accept such a thing ultimately if it were proposed?
I believe they'd be very open to the idea. Anything that brings closer to Europe is a good thing. But I think the really interesting thing in what was mentioned in that proposal is the mutual assistance clause. It doesn't get talked about much, but EU membership has a similar self-defense clause to NATO's. Everyone talks about NATO Article 5. This one doesn't get as much coverage. But the really interesting thing about it is it's actually stronger than NATO's Article 5. Article 5 obliges all member states to, essentially gather around a table and discuss whether or not they are going to come to the assistance of a country which is under attack. The EU equivalent obliges member state countries to provide all the assistance that they can. There's no discussion about whether or not people will actually come to a country's assistance. That's implied, and then countries are obliged to do as much as they can to help that country. So I think that's a really, really interesting thing that would be a very sort of hot topic of debate about whether or not Ukraine would be offered this associate membership, because it would have huge implications potentially.
Yeah, and I think also why it's not covered is also we talk about Article 5 from NATO. That's one to remember because I think the European one you're referring to in the treaties is 42.7. So that article, it's not so easy to roll off the tongue. But you're right, this is also in the proposal. The question is, can the European Union, can European member states really back this up? I mean, we're not even at the level where every European nation is really aligned on this. So this is the question, if this were to go forward, would every member state really necessarily be part of it?
It's a tricky question. Likely not. You know, Spain seems to be very, very reluctant to go along with anything that, you know, increased NATO spending or anything like that. We've still got, I mean, you know, there's obviously been huge changes in Hungary. You know, Russia doesn't have its sort of stooge in the EU anymore, but there's still countries like Slovakia who would obviously cause problems and, you know, would be throwing spanners in the works all over the place. There's no easy route out of any of this, but I think the fact that it's being talked about and discussed, you know, we've got to kind of take the wins when we can, and this is a good step in the right direction.
All right, so interesting proposals there. We'll see how they develop over the coming days and weeks. Look, thanks so much for that. Really pleasure having you here with us. Chris York, news editor at Kyiv Independent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay right here on TVP World for more news and commentary. Goodbye.